Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to discuss about the concept of exception handling and file handling in Python. Before we start discussing what is file handling, let's have a brief discussion about what is exceptional handling. So what is exception handling? Exception handling is a programming concept aimed at managing the errors and unexpected events that may occur during the execution of program. So in Python, whenever an error occurs, it raises an exception, which can cause much amount of disturbance in the normal flow of execution. So exception handling provides a mechanism to detect, handle, and recover from these exceptions gracefully, preventing the program from crashing and providing meaningful feedback to the users. So what happens whenever there is execution of code and any error or any exception arises, we come into picture of exception mechanism in Python, which tries to detect the errors, handle the errors. It tries to obstruct the flow. These errors try to obstruct the flow of program. So whatever obstruction or whatever disturbance that is created in the program is overcome by exception handling. And this exception handling mechanism makes sure that the flow or the control of the program goes in a proper way. So that exception handling also prevents the crashing of the program as well as provides meaningful feedback to the users. What is the need of exceptional programming in Python? Why do we require exception handling in Python? Because the first concept coming into picture, the usage of exception handling is because of its robustness and reliability. That is, exception handling provides robustness and reliability on Python program because exception handling basically manages the error as well as prevents the whatever program which is created, prevent the program or the flow of program of getting crashed or by unexpected terminations. Apart from that, during the exception handling mechanism, whenever there is an error occurring taking place, what does the exception handling do? It tries to handle those errors, control the error in a proper way, and make sure that the program runs smoothly and the execution takes place smoothly so that whatever errors are there, those errors are being removed, and also it also improves the reliability and the stability of the program by just handling the errors during the execution of the program. The next usage of exceptional handling is user-friendly error messages. As the word says user-friendly, that is nothing but whatever errors are or messages are generated by the developers during the execution of the programs, those errors which are created by the developers are nothing but messages to the users, or it may be the error messages to the users so that when the user look at the program and tries to understand the error, so they can have a deep study about the error. How did the error took place? What are the solutions for these errors to clear? And what are the other ways where how these errors can be cleared, how these errors are generated. So whatever messages the developer developed, those messages can be easily understood by the users and can be done in a proper way. The next usage of exception handling is cross-platform compatibility. That is, exception handling in Python is platform independent. That is, it works continuously in different platforms. It may be different operating systems and environments. The operating systems may be Windows, Linux, or Mac operating system. Any operating system, these exception handling can be used or can be manipulated in any operating systems. So there is no going to be any problem when we use exception handling in different operating systems. And these, whenever a developer or any person write a code and they try to check out in any platform, that time what is going to happen is that wide range of platforms or whichever platforms the developer is trying to run the code, that time whatever error will be there, regardless of any issue, those errors, whether it may be a Windows operating system or whether it may be a Linux operating system, any operating system, those errors can be handled easily by the developers, because exception handling is a mechanism wherein whatever errors are generated, they can be easily handled and rectified. That is the main reason why we use cross-platform compatibility. The next one, the usage of exception handling is very important one, that is debugging and troubleshooting. As the word debugging is nothing but finding the errors and trying to fix them. So the exception handling also does the same work. It tries to find the errors, and also it tries to debug those errors. In coding language, finding the error and trying to debug them is called as bug. So exception handling facilitates the process of debugging and also tries to give proper solution. Troubleshooting is nothing but trying to find the solution for whatever error has generated. Apart from that, it also tells us, it gives the type of information, it gives information what type of error it is, what type of which line of code the error is generated, whether the error is can be clarified or whether the error needed other solutions to clarify. So that troubleshooting concept or that troubleshooting mechanism can be done by exceptional handling. Apart from that, these were the reasons why do we use the exception handling. Now let us discuss about what are the types of exception handling. The first type coming into picture is value error. This is one type of exception handling where it says raised when a function receives an argument of the correct type but with an invalid value. For example, what is a function? Function is a block of code which will execute when it is called. So in a function, we have three parts. That is function declaration, function definition, and function call. So by defining a function in Python, we use the define word def, the function name, and in the parenthesis, we use the values or the variables. Those variables are called as arguments or parameters. So now, for example, if I want to define a function, say def add, that is add is my function name, def is the defined keyword, and in the parenthesis, I'm going to pass the value int a, int b. So int a is a variable of data type integer, int b is a variable of data type integer. So what happens when we are passing the values, we have to be sure that the value, whatever I have passed, is a valid value. For example, if I'm giving a data type correct, but the value which is being used in the function call is different, and the value which is used in the function definition is different, that time what happens? It gives you an error that is called as value error. As the sentence says, correct type, but with an invalid value. So that time what is going to happen? It is going to give us a value error. The next error coming into picture or the type of exception handling is zero division error. That is, this kind of error is raised when we divide a number by zero, and then we also say error saying file not found error. And also, this type of error is raised when attempting to open a file or access a file that does not exist. Now, for example, if I used a function, if I want to create a simple calculator, I am going to operate all the four operations, whether it may be plus, minus, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So during that time, when I define a function of division name as divide, that time when I use that function divide, I'm going to divide two numbers x and y. Suppose if the user enters a number x saying 10 and y saying 0, so division of 10 divided by 0 is invalid. So that is an error. So that time your output will be having saying an error that 0 division is impossible. The next time, if you have a folder wherein you have plenty amount of files, and you have named your file as different, but in you're searching the file with a different name, so that time it will give you an error saying file not found. The next part is IO error. That is nothing but input output error raised when input output operations fail, such as reading from or writing. Okay, so sometimes what happens when we are reading a file or writing file, during that time IO errors take place. The next type of exceptional handling is syntax error. As the word says syntax, that is example. Now, for example, if I ask you, what is the syntax for function? You will say the syntax for function is definite function. It is defined using a defined word, the function name, and the parenthesis. So this is the way how we define the syntax. Now, this syntax error is raised when the code is invalid and cannot be passed. Passed is nothing but the word passed is nothing but convert by the Python interpreter. So you have given the actual syntax is something which the Python interpreter can interpret. But what is the meaning of the word interpreter? That is nothing but Python is an interpreter. That is, it interprets or it checks each line of code. So what happens when you give the Python interpreter knows that what is the syntax for function. But when you as a user or a developer give the syntax in wrong way, so that time it's going to print an error saying that invalid syntax. The next error coming into picture is indentation error raised when there is a problem with indentation. Indentation is nothing but like if you forget to give a semicolon, if you forget to give a colon, if you forget to give any parenthesis or any symbol, that time it is called as indentation errors. That is such as mixing tabs and spaces or inconsistent indentation levels. Okay, that may be a spelling mistake. You have defined the function name as add and then down you're writing addition, so that time what happens, you are giving the wrong function name, you have forgotten to give colon, you have forgotten to give spaces, so that time what happens, it is nothing but it creates an indentation error in exception handling. The next type of error coming into picture in exceptional handling is a name error raised when an identifier, for example, variable, function, class, is not found in the current scope. So what is a variable? Variable is a container where you can store the data. What is the function? Function is a block of executable code which will execute whenever it is called. What is a class? Class is a blueprint of object. And what is a scope? Scope is nothing but now when you define a function, after defining a function, you write. Now, for example, if I define a function, say define add, in the parentheses, I give the two parameters A and B, or they're also called as arguments. And inside that, I give a sentence saying return A plus B. So that whatever I write inside my function, that is called as scope of my function, or it is also called as scope of my variable. So what is scope? Scope is nothing but it indicates the visibility of the variables, how the variables are visible inside the function, whether it is in the local variable, whether it is going to be a local variable or whether it is going to be a global variable. Local variable is nothing but the variable which is defined inside the function, and global variable is a variable which is defined anywhere throughout the function. So inside the current scope, if we give the wrong variable or we give a wrong function or if we give a wrong class, that time this name error exception handling comes into picture. The next part coming. So as now we have discussed about exception handling, the next part is about introduction to file handling. As the word say file, file is nothing but it's a place where you can store your data and that will be stored in your memories. Okay, so File is nothing but where you can store your data. Storage of data can take place. Handling is nothing but how to handle a file which consists of data in it. So now here it says it's a process of working with files on a computer system that includes tasks. Okay. So in the file handling, what are the tasks we can perform, such as reading from, writing to the files, manipulating file contents, okay, trying to manipulate, trying to calculate what is happening, and managing file resources. In programming, file handling typically involves interacting with files that are stored on the disks or other storage devices, allowing programs to store and retrieve data consistently or persistently. So what happens in file handling? In this is one of the mechanism in Python where we have to typically interact with the files, but and interact in such a way to check whether whatever data is stored in the disk, uh, and also the data which is stored in the storage devices, and also we can whatever data is stored in the file can be retrieved whenever whenever required. So in file handling, whatever operations that are performed or whatever tasks that are performed, those tasks have wide range of applications. What can be those applications? It can be file, it can be file management, it can be data processing, it can be configuration management, etc. And in Python, when we use this file handling technique, it tries to build or it tries to facilitate certain functions and methods. Okay, so what are the now in the subsequent slides we will come to know what are the methods or what are the functions which uses. So by usage of these functions and method, it will help the developer to perform various operations on the file seamlessly, or it allows the developer to do most of the operations simultaneously. The next part, what is the usage? Why only file handling in Python? There are certain reasons. The first reason could be data persistent. That is, data in the file will be stored, and that stored data will never be removed. Now, for example, if I have a file and I have stored a data into it, and or a program into that particular file, if if I have saved that file and if I close the program, that data will be stuck in the file without, it will be remaining forever unless and until I delete the file. So the word persistent means what? It is going to be stuck, never removed. So the data inside the file will be stuck. Apart from that, in the in file handling, the next part coming into picture or the next usage of file handling is that input and output operations. The first one is file handling enables Python programs to perform input and output functions or operations such as reading from the file, writing from the file, closing the files, etc. So now, if we talk about the reading and closing of the file, so Python also provides a function called as open function, so that using that function, we can open a file. So that when we open the file, in that file, we can read the data, we can write the data there, we can append. Append is nothing but add the data into that file. So that, so that whatever data is stored can be read anytime, that data can be written anytime and can be appended. So now, and whenever we are open a file, that file has to be closed. So Python provides a function called as close, so that whatever data inside the file system will be released whenever the system resources are required, and also provides proper cleanup. So to clean the file also, whatever it is, the close function has to be used. Then the other operation that can be performed is reading operation. And also we can perform append operation. We can perform operation, or we can say it as a function. Then the next usage of file handling in Python is data exchange. File handling facilitates the exchange of data between different programs and systems. So whatever data which is present in the file can be exchanged whenever and as and when required from one program to another program or from one system to another system. The next part coming into picture is the usage of file handling in Python. The main aspect is cross-platform compatibility. As the words say, cross-platform, platform in the sense in any way. Python file handling capabilities are platform independent. That is, the code can be written in any file consistently across different operating system. Okay, so this same way like exception handling, file handling can also, it is flexible and versatile, and it can be used in any open platform, whether it may be having different operating systems like Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and Unix. So any platform it may be, it has the capability to perform all its function and all its task as and when required. Then we talk about data backup and recovery. So as the words say, data backup, that is whenever file handling enable Python programs to create backups of the data by copying files to secondary storage devices or remote locations. So what happens whenever the system or the operating system gets corrupt, we need to have a data backup so that whatever data is available in our file, so those stored data will be required. So as and when the data gets or when the system gets corrupt, file handling provides the provision of data backup. That is, whatever stored data can be retrieved, can be recovered as and when required. So that particular aspect, that is data backup and recovery, is provided by file handling. The next part coming into picture is data storage and retrieval. File handling enable Python programs to store the data and in large volumes of data efficiently and retrieve it as needed. So that is whenever so in a file the data will be stored. That stored data can be extracted or retrieved whenever required, as and when based on the requirements, those data can be retrieved. Apart from that, it also provides flexibility for the developers to choose most appropriate file format. Now, if a person wants to save a file, he wants to save an image, he wants to save an Excel sheet, or he wants to save any binary file. So file handling provides the developer to choose the appropriate file format to store. Now, for example, if it's an image file, the format will be JPG or JPEG or PNG. If he wants to store a EduBlock program file, he can store it in the form of JSON file. If he wants to store the file in the form of Excel, he can store it in the form of CSV files. If he wants to store any text file, he can store it. So the meaning is that file handling provides the developers or the users to use appropriate file format to store their data in the system. The next part coming into picture is file handling tasks. What are the file handling tasks or what are the operations which can be done using file handling? The first task coming into picture is opening and closing of the file. As the word says opening, that is, we can open. So Python provides a function called as open, wherein you can open the files to read, to write, or to append. After performing these operations, whether the operation may be reading operation, whether the operator may be writing the operation, the operation may be writing, or the operation may be appending, after performing all the operations or the functions, it is mandatory and necessary to close the file, because this closing of the file can be done by using a method called as close, so that it releases the system resources and ensure the proper cleanup. So whatever it is, whenever you open a file, it is necessary to close that, so that whatever data inside the file is there, it is stored, and there is also proper cleanup of the data. So very important task, first task that is performed in file handling is opening and closing of the file, which is done by Python by using two important methods, that is open method and close method. The next coming into picture is reading from the files. So once the file is open, the next aspect to do, or the next step to do, is reading that file. So that Python provides one method called as reading the file, where the method can be read the file, a read line, or read lines. So it indicates there is an S at the end, read lines. So what happens here, these three methods allow the user to read the data, whether the data can be read in the form of entire file, read data, read, if you use only read function, it is going to read the entire file. If you say read line function, that means it is going to read a single line at a time. If you say read line, so it will simultaneously read whatever lines are placed in that file. So this is the usage of the method called as reading from files. The next method coming into picture is writing to files. So whenever the first step is the file is opened, then we make sure that the file is closed so that proper resources are done. Then we have, after opening the file, we read the file and we use the three functions or methods there. After that comes into picture is writing the file. So when the file is open for writing, Python allows the developers or the users to use the write method. Okay, in that we have three methods coming into picture, that is write method or write lines method. So write method enables us to write a string, that is, what is a string? String is a sequence of characters, or it may enable us to write full complete sequence. It may be a single string or it may be sequence of string, that is sequence of string means continuously for multiple lines, you can say in simple words. Okay, so this can be done. The next coming into picture is appending to the file. As the words say append, append is nothing but to add something in the file. The other word for add is append. So when the file is opened, it makes sure that the data is read, then it makes sure the data is written, and then the fourth step coming into picture is appending of the file. So what does it happens in appending of the file is that the Python provides a method called as append, where this function supports and allows you to append the data. It supports and allows you to append the data using append method. And whenever we are using this method, whenever we are going to write the method, read the method, we are going to use the alphabet R. Whenever we are going to write the method, we are going to use alphabet W. Whenever we are going to use append the method, we are going to use the alphabet A. So based on these alphabet, that indicates that we are, okay, so they are given, reading is given by R alphabet, writing is given by W alphabet, appending is given by A alphabet. So based on the starting word of these particular tasks, the letters are chosen. So appending is nothing but adding something to the file. And the next part is coming into picture is manipulating file position. So in that manipulating file position, what does Python provide? It provides us a method called as seek method and tell method. So what does the seek method and tell method do? They manipulate or they interpret. What they interpret? The current position within the file. Okay, what is the current position within the file? Whether the file, okay, so this method allows to move the file pointer into the current location. So what happens whenever the file is open, the data is read, the data is written, the data is appended. After that, in the manipulate task, what it does, it tries to find the current location in the file. So what it makes the pointer, file pointer to use or to search the specific position or the current position of the file. Now, for example, if you see when you open your system and if you want to check where is your file, so you make use of your mouse and the cursor starts moving on your screen. So this particular cursor is a pointer. So what it does, we are doing a manipulating operation there. We are trying to find out where is our file, where in which folder our file is placed. So with the help of that pointer, we can find the location. So what happens without the pointer, if I don't move my mouse to the particular file, I won't understand. So mouse is what it is doing me the task of manipulating where my file is present, in which location my file is present, whether my file is present in local C or whether it is present in local disk D or whether it is present in my desktop. So what happens here, this is manipulating file of positions. Okay, so I can manipulate or I can interpret where my file is present using my simple mouse and the cursor which comes. So that is act as a file pointer. Okay, that points where my file is present. Then next part coming into picture, the last task, that is closing of file properly. So closing a file is the last. Okay, so that is very important. If you don't close the file, the program will not execute. So now what happens is properly closing the file will help to perform certain important operations. So that what happens, it helps to better data integrity. That is, it helps to integrate the data properly, and it also ensures that whatever resources are placed in the file are performing proper operations. Apart from that, closing a file is one of the mandatory tasks. Without closing of if the file is open, now for example, I can take a real life example. If you are working on your system, you will create a file, you will write a Python code, you will run the code, and you will check the output. But as soon as you finish your all the tasks on your system, at one particular point or at the end of the day, or you can take at the end of an hour, you will work on your system, and after some time you will try to, so after working completely on a system, you will do the last task. That is, whatever files you have done, you will save it. And all the files which were open, or whether you have opened Google, you have opened your WhatsApp, you have opened your desktop, you have opened your file manager, anything is open, you try to close all. Why do you close all? Because your system accepts from you that all the files are closed, so that system or while you switch off, everything is on its own position. So in the same way, whenever we open the file, closing of the file is mandatory, so that whatever resources inside are there gets integrated properly. Okay, whatever resources inside the file are stored properly in the operating system. So the conclusion is that, overall conclusion is that file management is versatile and flexible, and also it accepts the programming that enables developer to work with files and data effectively. So whatever it helps or it enables the developer to work on the file and make sure that whatever data is there to use it effectively for for the processing of the data or for manipulating of the data or for file management. These are the applications where file handling can be used. Okay, so for the processing of the data or file management of the data, we can use this file handling. Apart from that, it also build up range in software applications as well as in solutions. By mastering file handling techniques and the process of file handling libraries, these developers can create robust, efficient, and scalable applications that meet the diverse in the sense, different needs of users and business alike. So now let's do a program on file handling in Python. So as we know, what are the tasks to be performed in file handling, that is opening of the file, closing of the file, reading a file, writing a file, appending a file. So all those tasks will be done in this particular program. So let's start. File equal to open. I shall give the file name as example 1.text in write mode. So when I open the file, I have to close it. So using file.close function, I am going to close the file. So when I run the code, we can see on the left side, example1.txt file is created. Now, as example1.txt file is in write mode, we will write something in the file as file.write hello Jack. So when I run the code, you can see that in example1.txt, hello Jack is printed. In the same way, I can add multiple lines in the file saying, welcome to data science tutorial class or tutorial, anything. So now when I rerun the code, you can see in the new file example1.txt, welcome to data science class is added. If I want to welcome to data science class in the next line, I can add an escape sequence \n so that it moves the cursor to the next line. If I rerun the code, you can see that hello Jack is printed in the first line and welcome to data science is printed in the second line. Next. Now, in the first 4 lines, it tells us that we have created a file with name example1.txt. Then we have written the content in the file. So now let's create another step of the program, that is we will create how to read the file. File equal to open. I'm going to change the variable as from file to file1. I'm going to open the same file. Example 1.txt in the read mode. So R indicates its abbreviated form of read. That is, we are asking the text or we are opening the file in read mode format. And then in order to print whatever content is there in the file, I am going to use the for loop. If I say print each, it will print me the each sentence in example1.txt. And it is very necessary to close the file. For loop is the loop which is finite loop. So that loop we are using in order to print the statements. And we are making the file to run in read mode. So if I run the code, you can see on the right side on my console, you can get the output. Whatever content was written in the file example1.txt is displayed on the console by making the file to run in the read mode. Now, I'm going to take another variable file2 equal to open. I'm going to open the same file text in append mode. The word append meaning we are going to add something into the file. And I'm going to print before we append, we will again make the file to run in the read mode so that it prints me the read mode. Let it read the first 10 characters. And I'm going to close the file again. As I run the code, it will print me hello Jack. That is, it will print the first 10 characters of the string. That is, H stands for the first one. So the first character is HELLO. Together, it will give us the 5 size, and then the space is also included and the next 4 characters. So it is going to be a total 10 characters coming into picture. I can also change it to 12. If I change it to 12, I will get the output as hello, Jack. It will include the escape sequence character as the 11th character, and then it will print me W. If I remove the escape sequence character now and rerun the code, you can see it is printing hello, the space in between Jack and WE. So together 12 characters. So in this way, I can make the file to run on the read mode and I can read each and every character in the text, which is being placed in the example1.txt file. Then next, I'm going to use the next variable file3 equal to open example. Same file I'm going to open example1.txt in the append mode. Abbreviated for A indicates that it is in the append mode. If it is abbreviated as W, it is in the write mode. And if it is abbreviated as R, it is going to be the read mode. In the same way, I am going to write file3 dot write I am a student. Append, the meaning of the word append is that I'm going to add this content into the example1.txt file. Then I'm going to close that file. If I rerun the code, you can see that I am a student is appended to the file. You can see in the file example1.txt. If I want to have the same content in my console, I'm going to do the same thing. File 3 equal to open example1.txt in the read mode using for loop. I'm going to print each sentence in the line. My variable is file 3. Print each file 3 dot close. If I rerun the code, you can see as the previous code is getting executed, I will comment the above program out. I'll comment out the above programs. Whatever the content I have appended in the file, the same content also will be printed. If I rerun the code, you can see here. So I need to uncomment it. And you can see here, hello Jack, welcome to data science class. I am a student. So whatever content the I am student appended in the example1.txt file is same printed on the console. The next part is I'm going to use a keyword with. I'm going to open the same file, example 2.txt. R in the read mode as first file, comma, open as example 2.txt in the append mode as the second file. I'm going to use for loop per line in first file. Whatever the contents are there in the first file to get printed it in the second file. If I rerun the code, let us check what is the error it is asking us. So I'm opening the example1.file. So this was the error. We had written example2. That is the new file what we are going to create. So now you can see on the left side, example2.txt is a new file created. And whatever content was there in example1, I will show you that also. In example1, the content was, hello Jack, welcome to data science class, and I am a student. The same content is also printed, is also appended, you can say. The same content what was there in example 1 got added into example 2, and the same content using the for loop which was there in the example 1, all the lines were copied into example2.txt and were printed in the console. So both we have done. We have appended a file, whatever content was there in example 1, we copied into example 2, and the same content also we have pasted, or we have got the output on the console. So this was all about the file handling task. That is, we have used the function open, close, write, and we have used the abbreviated words for write W, and for read as R, and for A as append. So each and every code tells us about how we can open a file, how we can close a file, how we can write the content in a file, how we can create a new file, and whatever content was there in the previous file to copy into the newly created file. All the tasks are performed in this particular program. Thank you.